Hi, so I wrote an article that explains why any bit depth has nothing to do with microphone clipping, or probably any analog clipping. I'm just going to show you some of the graphics from this article. I'm going to try and make this very brief. Uh, yeah, so anyway, the first graphic, I basically show that there are three types. There's when the microphone diaphragm can't hit hits the back plate or the front plate, which sort of creates the clipping. And that's just bad luck, right? It's bad luck that somebody would just start speaking really close to the mic or scream or speak too loudly. And then there's when you're setting the gain in your analog preamp, it's just bad planning, right? You assume that the person's going to talk at a certain level. So if they're talking at that level, but then they go close to the mic, I'm not going to talk really loud in the mic to bother you, but you would understand what it would sound like. It'd be bad planning if you set your gain for it to sound in the right range, and then the person starts talking really far close into the mic or far back from the mic. So you set the gain, you planned wrong, they speak too close to the mic, or they speak too loudly, and it clips. It's just bad planning. But if you're managing the gain control, you could pull it down. And of course, limiters, automatic gain control, gain assist, all these technologies that have been around for 50, 60 years, they will all remove or reduce clipping if you enable them. And that's how it works in these devices, that these manufacturers say, oh, 32-bit float fixes it. No, it's not. That's not fixing. It's the tried and true analog automatic gain control. Okay. Anyway, that's the second type of clipping. The third type of clipping is when you're taking numbers in one digital space and you're putting them into another digital space, and you generally get this through multiplying the numbers, and you multiply some of the larger numbers into numbers that this space just can't hold, so it clips. It's a type of digital clipping, but that only happens, if you're incompetent. Let's explain some other way. So in this, I show a thing that that basically this is your amplitude in a wave or on a string. So this is like a string, and this is the amplitude. So all analog equipment similarly has a level where there's a max, right? And there's a max voltage because take on the string, if you pushed it too hard, if you did it too hard, it would go to the point that it would break. Same thing with computer equipment, electronics equipment. If you send a voltage through that's too big, it breaks the circuit. The wires literally will burn away or whatever. You get the idea. Anyway, just a quick demonstration. I go into, how if you multiply 16 millivolts to 1.1 volts and your analog output is going to be 1 volts and your preamp, it's going to clip. And that's just the way it is. I explain how resolution is very much associated with your min and max, and that you can't just like extend the scale outwards because then you're adding more numbers, right, than your bit depth. And if you pull it, right, then you'd have to pull your source too to match it. You can't change either one independently. Anyway, this explains how you can't change your scale, your bit depth, on the fly. And this one explains that you can't change the source on the fly to meet your bit depth because, again, they're sort of from the beginning. They're matched up in a way that doesn't change. It's another graphic that sort of explained that when people say that bit depth, increased bit depth is going to fix things. It's like if one person's measuring their child and they said, oh, when he grows I'm going to get a 10-foot ruler. Well, the other people forget that that's all based on the container of what you're going to measure in. So if your preamp can only go to 8 feet, and that's what the guy's saying, well, a house is always going to be 8 feet. Well, you can't measure past 10 feet. So and then I just show that in every preamp and every piece of electronics equipment, there are always minimum and maximum voltages that it will take in any circuit. Every single one. So to say that you can create voltages past some other level that that you can extend some digital scale and get away from these physics, well, okay. And then digital clipping, I show here some original values on the left. So let's say you have some original values. Your bit depth is 50, your min is 0.24, your max is 9.67, just make up these numbers. If you want to make them louder and we all multiply by 5, well, many of the numbers will go past 40. They will, in a sense, clip. But this is totally man-made clipping. I mean, this is, you just have to be incompetent to do this. You should know working with the data that shouldn't happen. And also in the when you see on YouTube people arguing that 32-bit float fixes, they'll show like this waveform on a thing, and then it'll be clipped, and they'll show another waveform where it's wide and they bring it down and it's not clipped. That's using tricks with the bit depth that no normal audio engineer would ever do, right? I mean, they wouldn't record like clipped in 24-bit and then record a different gain in 32-bit and then try and fool you with this stuff. Some of them aren't even maliciously trying to fool you. They just do not understand how the equipment works. I mean, they see all these graphs and stuff, and they just don't explain it. I've had long email conversations with some very big YouTubers, and when I try and explain this, they're like, they just they don't want to hear it because they don't want to admit that many of the videos they already posted are just flat out wrong. Like, people hate to admit that they're wrong. Like, it's easy to say, in science generally, like, yeah, science is about, coming up with important things, and then, if we come up with some new understanding, adjusting our thinking. Well, in real life, that's a little bit different, right? If you're making money on YouTube, doing all these equipment reviews, and all of a sudden you realize that you didn't understand how something worked, the stuff explained in this article, then what are you going to do? Well, I say, hey, just say I'm wrong, or don't say anything. Just don't make the mistake again. But unfortunately, many of them continue to repeat the marketing claim that 32-bit float fixes microphone clipping. Anyway, you can read the article and judge for yourself. And if you disagree, you need to tell me which axiom do you disagree with, right? Which part of the argument do you disagree with in the article? And then I will happily, if I am wrong, because maybe I am, I will happily change it and learn something in the process. All right, well, thanks for watching. I hope you'll go read the article if you have any interest in the subject, and have a good day.